After reading the article on discussing how people get their news information about science, I found it really interesting how throughout all the surveys they conducted in the article, um, that majority of the people, although they did get their news information from like newspapers or common media sources, um, a large percentage of those same people also said that they didn't think it was the most trustworthy source for the news that they were getting. However, based on the results from the surveys, it showed that they were still going back to those sources instead of going to like a specialty news source on science information. So I thought that that was really interesting because it shows that even though people are aware that they might not be getting the most trustworthy or the best information from these sources, they continue to go back to them. Um, I think that is because they're very accessible. I think that a lot of people sometimes don't know, if they're looking for a specialty source, they don't know how to find a reliable one, so they just go the easy route and pick up a newspaper, which isn't a bad thing, but I think for agriculture and life sciences news, it definitely impacts the way that we need to communicate about um, those topics. Like if we are getting agricultural news in a newspaper, a lot of times, or like in a news broadcast, they try to get the story out as quickly as they can. So sometimes the initial story isn't always the most correct. And usually they'll go back and update with like more correct information, but the initial story is a lot of times what people are going to be reading about. So for agriculture and life sciences, it's just important when we're communicating to make sure that the initial stories that are, being published, or the articles or the news broadcasts that are being put out there are as accurate as they can be, and that they have all the information in the full picture because, like the article said, a lot of people do tend to go to those sources initially. Another thing is that we definitely need to make sure that agriculture and life sciences information is more accessible for the people that are looking for maybe a specialty source, that they can find those and know that they're looking and reading on like valid, correct information. So I think that's also very important. Thanks.